Hello there, thrill seekers, and for today's Monday Moldy Oldie, I am going to show you the rest of the material from the Maplewood Career Center in Ravenna, Ohio from May 9th, 2008. This is the DVD-R that I put it on. I recorded it on a little mini DV tape and then transferred it to this. And this is the rest of the students' questions. We get cut off by the bell, saved by the bell, I guess, before I could say anything more stupid. And I just really like the questions these students asked. They were high school students in a vocational school, so a school that isn't training you to go to a university, they're training you to get a job right after high school. And I got invited out there by one of the teachers. The teacher who you see a little bit of in the clip had invited me out there to speak to his class about, basically he just gave me free hand, is that the right word? He just let me talk about whatever I wanted. I think free hand is the wrong word for that. Anyhow, this is the rest of the talk that I gave to the Maplewood Career Center in Ravenna, Ohio back in 2008, and I hope you enjoy it. Here we go.
So I think it's like 400 billion bits of information are supposed to, through our senses, are supposed to be received in our brain per second. But because of our filters, we only receive actually 2,000. So do you think during your meditation you have a lack of the filters?
Possibly. Yeah, I had never thought of it that way, until what you just said. But yeah, I mean, that may be one way of looking at it. Because yeah, you do need to filter that out because you can't possibly comprehend all of that. Mm-hmm. So yeah, at the same time, the saying that, I want to also say something else that might seem unrelated, but I'm going to say it anyway. A lot of people in the meditation business will try to sell you on having this experience, this what they'll call enlightenment or something. It's going to be this experience of opening all of that up and experiencing all 400 billion bits of information. But in general, you can't handle that, and you don't want to get that before you're ready for it. Because if you get it before you're ready for it, all it's going to do is mess you up. So I really caution people against that. And the other thing is, a lot of that stuff that you would experience if you weren't filtering everything out is not very pleasant. I mean, a lot of it is very pleasant and very oneness with the universe and all this other, BS they talk about. But a lot of it is some childhood memory that you had no idea ever happened to you, and my God, I can't believe it, or some weird desire that you have that you had no idea you even would have such a thought, let alone have a desire to, strangle your neighbor's kitten, or, I don't know, I'm just trying to think of something really horrible. But there's all kinds of stuff in your brain and body that you don't acknowledge all the time. So, and that's why in Zen they talk about it's a really gradual practice, and most of it is just boring. But gradually that stuff starts to come up, and you start to be, okay, well, I'm comfortable with that one. Maybe I can go on to a little bit more, and then you go on to a little bit more, and a little bit more.
Is that why you start off only doing 40 minutes, and then you gradually...
Yeah, I mean, generally speaking, I know people who will go to a week-long Zen retreat as their first experience of Zen practice, and I always tell people, don't do that, you don't want to do that. It's better to have done it for at least a couple months or something as a daily 20 minutes per day thing, and then go to the retreat. For me, I was doing it daily for 10 years before I went on a retreat, because I'm not ready for that.
Yeah, so do you think that big moments in your life correspond with these moments of enlightenment?
Yeah, in a way. I mean, the reason something is a big moment in your life is because you're there for it. I went and saw a Kiss concert a couple years ago. Does people remember Kiss?
Yeah.
Was it cool?
It was really cool. But it's it's bright lights, and it's noisy, and it's fire pots, and it's Gene Simmons breathing fire and spitting blood. And I'm sitting there going, yeah, this experience is really cool because it's so in your face that you cannot get away from this moment. So what it's really doing, that experience is really doing, is putting you in this moment. You know, that's all it's really doing. But it's by being a big experience, and any big experience is like that. You know, anything you can think of that's like a big moment in your life is just a moment when you were there. And if you can learn to stay present during other moments, like when you're washing the dishes or when you're cleaning the cat box or whatever it happens to be, when you're walking over to catch the bus, that changes everything about life. You know, you're like, you realize your whole life is this really amazing thing. You know, you're talking about your daughter playing with the dirt, you know, and how, you know, little kids do that, you know.
For long stretches of
Going,
time.
look, I'm playing with dirt. I'm playing with dirt, you know. But it's a really cool thing.
I had to pry her off the porch to come in after like hours then. And she would just, all she did, scoop it up, let it go.
And we don't realize how amazing, you know, as we grow up, we tend to forget how amazing our life really is, you know, which is a sad thing.
Even just moving. My hands move when I talk, and I don't tell them what to do. They just do things. It's a miracle.
I feel that, man. I
Yeah.
get these twitches all the time. It's weird.
Last question. Do you want to ask anything? Do you have any music question you want to answer?
I'm
Just
good.
cool. Okay.
Jessica, are you sure?
I'm good.
Okay.
You had a cool mind-body talk in the previous class, Michelle. You should have been there for that. Do you have a question?
I'm playing tonight at Square Records in Akron. Go
Yeah,
see
there you go,
Zero
yes.
Defects.
How do you like stay in the present moment? Because I know, like, if I try to do it, there's always like a whole bunch of thoughts like eating away at the back of my head. Like, do you ever like cease to hear those, or do you just ignore them?
Mostly ignore them. I mean, you know, depending on, sometimes I'm less successful than others at ignoring that stuff. But generally, it's going to come up, and there's never going to be a time when thoughts just don't happen. You know, it's just that's what your brain does. You know, and that's what it's supposed to do. And if you don't want it to stop doing that, because you know you'd be really screwed up. So yeah, just the fact that you notice that you're having these thoughts that's actually a positive. You know, in Zen practice, the teachers will usually tell you, yeah, that's good. You're noticing that you're having all these crazy thoughts. That's the whole point of this practice. Once you notice it, then you're like, okay, well, I can ignore it. You don't really attach like this idea of me to the thought. It's just like,
You don't have to believe it or fight it, right? I mean, you don't.
I mean, sometimes you do. You know, like I had this guy. Anyway, it's a long story.
Oh, there's the bell.
Yeah.